Start left to right here. We have Chip Algren. Good morning, Chip.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Also with us is Sean Cavanaugh. He is chairman of Building and Grounds. Good morning.
Good morning, Vanessa. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And Dan Byers is with us from the Warren County Board also. Good morning, Dan.
Yeah, good morning.
How
Glad
are
to be
you,
here.
sir?
Good.
Good. All right. I'll let you guys set the stage. Last night was a special meeting, and Jack Toll was there to cover it for us, so we had some information on it. But let's hear directly from you guys on how the meeting went.
Well, I think maybe we ought to give your listeners a little bit of a background to set the stage for what took place at the meeting. During the process of selecting a contractor to build the law enforcement center, we'd had presentations made to both the Citizen Advisory Committee and the Warren County Board. When Ringland Johnson came and made presentations, they were asked by both the Citizen Advisory Committee and the Warren County Board if local contractors would be able to bid parts of the project, and we were told that they would be allowed to do so. What then occurred was that on February 14th, Valentine's Day, about 9:30 in the morning, Ringland Johnson sent out emails to, for example, Advanced Plumbing here in Monmouth, MSI in Galesburg, and some other local contractors. And the email was an invitation to bid on the jail project. At about 12:30 that same day, Ringland Johnson sent a follow-up email basically saying that the bidding was closed out. And I should go back a moment and say that the invitation to bid that was initially sent out had a deadline of February 27th on it. And anyway, then the second email says, no, the bidding is shut off. And that then was brought to the county board's attention on February 19th at the county board meeting. And Vanessa, I believe you attended that. Mm-hmm. After that meeting, Ringland Johnson was contacted and asked about the emails and what had happened. Their response was that the first email had been sent in error. Then they said the second email was sent out basically to negate the first email that was sent. Specifically, they were asked about the plumbing bid, and the understanding and the response that we got from them was that they had not designed the plumbing system for the jail. And again, I got to back up a little bit. If your listeners have followed this, we had been to a jail that was constructed by Ringland Johnson in Lee County, Dixon, Illinois. We liked what we saw there, and we basically wanted to duplicate that on a smaller scale. So what we were, told by Ringland Johnson is that when they built that, the plumbing company itself designed the plumbing system for that building. And because of that, that plumbing company had proprietary rights to the design, and Ringland Johnson could not hand that design out. Okay. So that was the explanation. That response then led to last night's meeting. I guess at this point I could ask Sean or Mr. Byers if they want to comment on what took place during the meeting last night.
Yeah, I could kick things off there. It was a very well-attended meeting. There were probably a dozen members of the public there, concerned citizens and people wanting to be in the know, which is fantastic. We love a full house. Actually, we used every seat in there. Wasn't a single empty chair. Ringland Johnson had sent a representative, Markham Spears, to make some comments on his behalf.
No. You mean advanced?
Advanced plumbing.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. And
didn't know Ringland Johnson hired Mark.
No. I just have Ringland Johnson on the brain.
So yes, let's
sadly.
go back. So Markham Spears was hired by Advanced Plumbing.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry. To communicate, in addition to the bidding issue, it was felt that when Ringland Johnson was brought on board by the county, it might not have been the proper procedure to do so, and that was a big concern. So that became a part of the discussion to whether we, in addition to the bidding and whatnot. So, I'd looked at the law, and it's looked pretty apparent to me and specific on how things should have been done, and in no intention did the county or anyone working with the county try and mislead anyone. because laws are, I mean, a lawyer needs a lawyer to understand what these things say sometimes. So that was a point of discussion. So after a lengthy chat about numerous things, the county voted almost unanimously to pause the jail project. That would include any work that Ringland Johnson is doing, any work that Spear Financial or the Baker Group, who helps with the bonds and so forth, that be halted so the county can bring Ringland Johnson to good old Monmouth to answer some questions, because we have a lot of questions to ask, and they will be submitted. We will provide their questions to them, so that that's not at spur of the moment. I need to check with somebody, whatever. That way, they can come with answers. But certainly, there will be follow-up questions and new questions that are asked when they do arrive. We are hoping that is next Thursday. It would be an evening meeting, so the public is encouraged to attend. And so we need to find out just what the heck's going on. They said also, Ringland Johnson, that they only hired union contractors, and but they seem to admit that when we asked them about our local contractors. We didn't like that one bit, and the language in their information needs looking over because they would have different agreements with different counties in regards to hiring just union contractors, but Warren County was not one that was listed. And again, that's something for council to look at more in depth. So we did vote for the pause, and there's no time limit that we attach to it, because it could be, we're not sure how long it would be. We don't want to be bound to some time limit if we don't have all the answers that we're looking for. And if in fact so we moved from that. Would you have anything to comment on that?
Yeah, let's get Dan's perspective. Yeah. Dan, you're a member of the Warren County Board. Thanks for your service to the public as well.
Thank you. I would say, it was a spirited, discussion last night. I would say by and large, there's a consensus as to want to put a pause on the project. Maybe within that, some varying degrees of, feelings about it. I guess I look at it from the perspective of, we've gone to the taxpayers and asked them to fund this project and to be part of the community. And let's face it, this project, probably the very high percentage of the community that's here living right now, this is probably the last jail they're going to see built for a while. That's just fact of life. And so we want it done right. And I think the very least we can do is offer our local contractors that with them and their employees that live here in the community and pay taxes and provide, contribute to the project. I think it would be a disservice to them to not at least give them the opportunity to participate in the project and have an opportunity at it. Because, if there's a problem, the jail gets built, it's Christmas morning, it's middle of the night, there's an electrical issue, there's a plumbing issue, who's going to get called to take care of it?
The local guy. Or gal, yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is burn a bridge there or create ill will that they didn't even have an opportunity to participate in it.
Yeah, and when I was there last week, the county board members were certainly 100% respective of that because, it's just, they know. You got to know what's in there in order to service it. What is the design. But, Chip, as a lawyer, you understand the copyright infringement of the intellectual property of that design if it was not, in fact, built or designed by Ringland Johnson, but by someone else.
Yes, that's correct. In fact, with Ringland Johnson, the plans that we've received from them, involving the layout of the building, that sort of thing, right on the front page, their plans are copyrighted.
Right.
So, for example, we couldn't take that plan, and when I say we, meaning Warren County, and hand that out to other general contractors to get bids.
Now, was it a firm that drew the drawings that created the drawings for this plumbing, just using plumbing as an example? It's a firm that created that, right? Not a plumbing company that's going to come in and
No, my
bid
understanding was it was a plumbing company that did their own design.
Right.
For the plumbing system.
So typically we could do a non-disclosure agreement with, say, an Advanced Plumbing or another local company, and they could, in fact, bid on the project if Ringland will agree to that in the design company.
Well, I believe that's correct, but these are some of the questions that
Sure.
we need to present to Ringland Johnson to make sure that we have clear answers. One thing I do want to bring up is the amendment. There was an amendment made to the statute involving the hiring of a design build firm, and that statute was amended in 2023. And I'm trying to recall, and I don't off the top of my head, when the county board voted to accept Ringland Johnson as a contractor.
Uh-huh.
I believe if that occurred prior to the amendment to the statute, then those amendments would not apply to this situation. But again, that's something that's being explored right now.
And that amendment, which took effect January 1st, 2023, there were previous laws before that, a 2007 law, I recall, where the language was quite similar. So the next portion of the discussion came is that the city can do whatever they want, but the county needs to seek some counsel on this, outside counsel, someone that would know construction law, for example, expertise in the situation, because it's my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm correct, but in my opinion, the county did not follow the correct procedure. And again, we weren't experts at the time. Ringland Johnson didn't say, oh, by the way, this should be done this way or that way. But that's something that came to our attention and needed to be addressed. So we need to hire outside counsel that can check on such matters, such as the bidding process. The bidding, you with design build, once you hire a contractor, if you will, then they bid out things. But if the plumbing is proprietary and the jail design is proprietary, I'm guessing the electrical is proprietary and the HVAC is, I don't know. But if the plumbing is, my guess is everything is. Because when they sent out the email for people to get bids, they sent them out to union shops and non-union shops, major corporations in the Quad Cities, big outfits that could do anything. And they also got an email 3 hours later saying, sorry, it's been awarded already prior to February 27th, you see. And that just set off a fuse with some people, myself definitely. And so they need to come down. They need to answer some questions. We're investigating hiring counsel that can see if this was done correctly. And it could be, I'm not saying it will be, but it could be that if it was done incorrectly from the start, then we might need to do open bid process again. Well, we need to do one, and we'd start from scratch. But it would not take as long as last time, because obviously COVID, I think we'd all agree that really slowed things down, made things expensive.
Well, the good news is county board, as soon as these issues were brought to the table, you guys have halted and backed the truck up and put it in neutral until you feel comfortable.
Transparency.
With what's about to happen. And it's a good thing, you've got Chip as a liaison to continue to look into the matter. Your county board, you get a chance to talk with Ringland Johnson, and we see what unfolds. Right, Dan?
Yeah. In my opinion, this is too massive of a project to just steamroll ahead when we've got major questions, major issues. This is, for lack of a better term, for a lot of the community, a once-in-a-lifetime project. That I'm going to be 47 years old here in a couple of weeks. I'm guessing this is probably the last one that I'll see, in my lifetime.
It's expensive, too, right?
Well, yeah, and the last thing we need to do when we're asking the public to pay for it is create a bunch of ill will that we haven't stood up and fought for our local contractors that help pay our bills, that help, in our businesses or our livelihoods, take care of us. And I think it's a disservice to them to not give them an opportunity to hopefully participate in this. And because there's going to be ones here left to help us take care of, maintenance and the project and everything else when everybody else is left.
Sure. And these things have occurred so many times in the last 10, 15 years, the design build, whether it's big projects in the suburbs for homes, they do bring in their own crews, boom, these things go up quick. And so these have become more and more common, whereas we traditionally think of the old school way of, okay, we're going to do this, and here's the local contractors and the local furniture store and all of that. Like it used to be in the old days. Chip, what's the next step then with Ringland Johnson? What are the big questions that you have for him?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is when they come in is to clarify why we were told that local contractors would be able to bid on the project when it appears that they're not able to. I think that's the main question, and then I think some of the other questions. Right now, we have questions that are being formulated, and along those lines, I think you should bring up as well that is it Rob Benedict that was there last night? Yeah, Rob Benedict, who's the owner of MSI, was there, and he volunteered 2 people that work for MSI to work with the county board in formulating questions to pose to Ringland Johnson. So that's in the process of being done.
And also they volunteered, well, he volunteered his son and someone else right there on the spot. He's a trooper. But they also volunteered their services of oversight of any project. And I think that's something we're going to discuss. We tabled it last night, but we're going to be discussing in the future whoever ends up building the jail, and it may not be Ringland Johnson. Whoever is hired for it, that there's someone brought on that can oversee who is building it, just to make sure that we're getting a fair shake on everything, the pricing's right, and timelines are falling into where they should be, and people that are knowledgeable in such matters that would be representing all of Warren County's residents by oversight of the jail project. And, it could. There's a lot of variables in there, and there are lots of questions. And, if we can't use our employees, our local contractors, then we got a big problem. And Ringland Johnson, in my mind, would have a big problem. That's just my opinion there. I'm not speaking for everyone on that. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know.
Chip, what else would you like to add this morning to let the public know about the pause on the law enforcement center, the new law enforcement center, as far as who's going to build that until further questions have been answered?
Well, I guess I would just say that the county board, I know, is going to call another special meeting, and I know they want to do that fairly quickly, so hopefully whatever issues we have are going to be able to be resolved in the fairly near future so we can go ahead and go forward with the project.
Okay. Dan, what else would you like to add this morning on behalf of the Warren County Board?
I would just say this is perhaps a hiccup or, maybe something that we didn't anticipate, happening at, this stage of the process. But at the same point, I think we've got to take a step back, get our questions answered, make sure things are being done the right way. This is too massive of a project to just steamroll ahead and, without getting some questions answered and do the best we can to take care of our local people. This is a community project, and I guess I feel fairly strongly that this needs to be a community effort that, not only from funding the jail, but, helping construct it and bring dollars back into the community ourselves.
Okay. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you coming in and telling, our audience about it and keeping people posted and updated about this process. I really appreciate that. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay. Thank you.
That is Chip Algren with us, also Sean Cavanaugh and Dan Byers, Warren County Board